Hi, I'm your host Swapnil Bhartiya and welcome to Let's Talk. We used to say that every company should be a software company, that no company can survive without software as part of their core strategy. Today, same can be said about the cloud, especially in the post-pandemic world where I think the world is literally running on cloud. But when it comes to small and medium businesses, uh, when they have to build their digital transformation or cloud strategy, things become a little bit more complicated because sometimes the CEO is also the owner and the CTO and the decision maker. So, what factors, including factors like trust, play their role? How do these small and medium businesses plan their digital transformation or cloud strategy? To talk about this topic, today we have with us Phil Shih, Managing Director at Structure Research. Phil, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I would love to know a bit about the company Structure Research. What do you folks do? What are you all about?
Yeah, happy to share. I've been following the infrastructure services space, data centers, cloud, managed hosting for over 2 decades. We founded Structure Research 10 years ago in 2011 here in Toronto, Canada, where I'm dialing in from. We like to think of ourselves as a boutique research firm. We're a smaller group of research analysts, 6 analysts, company of just less than 10 people. But we spend all our time on the infrastructure services space. So we live and breathe the sector. We follow service providers, and our research and all the kind of commentary and insights and market share analysis that we do is focused on cloud providers and data center operators.
What kind of trends, exciting trends you are seeing in the cloud space, which you're like, no, there are two kind of trends, right? One is that we see the natural progression and evolution, and suddenly something there, we're like, oh, we did not even expect that. So talk about that. What are you seeing there?
I think what's really just surprised and is exciting has happened during this I guess 18-month long pandemic that we're living through. It's the acceleration of cloud infrastructure. It's the kind of widespread understanding of what the cloud is and how it can enable businesses. The depth of that understanding just hasn't been there. It's always kind of creeped up year by year, especially in the small business sector. And so just it's unbelievable what businesses, how fast they've been able to deploy kind of just new business models or new business lines, selling in a different way, selling different products and services with use of cloud technology, how easy that is to get started, how the barriers have come down. And so that's, to me, that's the most exciting thing that's out there. And then, I every day it just never ceases to amaze me how surprising and how steady and how much more of this acceleration is happening and is yet to happen. We follow the results coming from the public markets and the not just the hyperscale guys, but the SMB-oriented providers, SMB hosters are all showing tremendous growth, and in fact are positioning for accelerated growth throughout 21 into 22. So it's exciting times. I think it's cloud has become mainstream and it's going to be a mainstay going forward.
The fact is that a lot of companies, they were already planning, we have been talking about digital transformation for ages now, but did you see any acceleration that companies picked up momentum because of the pandemic, or it was just a natural curve or trajectory?
It's a great question. I would say it's a bit of both, but it's, I think this kind of sector adoption has always been incremental. The first early adopters of cloud, moved a single workload or a single application, email server, website, but they didn't think in terms of their, running their entire organization, going all in on cloud, whether you're a large organization or a small organization. And so, what we've seen now is the urgency in an environment that has just changed the way everybody lives, the way businesses run, the way services are provided, the way people communicate, socialize. All of that, I think, has just caused a dramatic rethink or an acceleration of what was already known but perhaps was not prioritized. And so that's it across kind of the business sector or around our lives. And around the cloud industry, having to kind of scale to support that growing adoption. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of almost like a perfect storm of events that is driving the growth in this industry.
Now let's just narrow down on small and medium businesses, which are is kind of today focus. What kind of adoption of cloud, public cloud, have you seen it this space? Because as we were, kind of initially, because their challenges are a bit different than a large enterprise. Where in a large enterprise they talk about multi-cloud and every team is running their own cloud, but small businesses they have totally different needs and challenges. So how are they embracing adopting cloud? What are you seeing there?
I think for the larger enterprise, it's more strategic in many ways. But for small organizations, what's important is that they are trying to, in many ways, not necessarily run their entire organization on cloud, but they're trying to solve a certain problem, right? So if it's a restaurant, we can't we can't have in-restaurant dining, then we're going to have to figure out a way to do takeout, and how can we make that easier? How can we transact online? How can we take online reservations? How can we maximize our business with the given the environment that we're working in? So it's that kind of reacting to that kind of situation, and then asking a service provider, a cloud provider, okay, what kind of infrastructure services do you have? What kind of help and guidance can you offer me? How much will that cost, and how fast can I get that up and running? And so that's a really big sea change, and I think that's just again brought on by this environment, the urgency that people require. But and I think it's interesting because small businesses, the way they consume cloud has always been reactive and often word of mouth. Everybody has a friend that knows technology, that knows cloud, and so small businesses have never been really overly organized or sophisticated about how they procure this stuff. Sometimes they'll call a friend. Sometimes they'll take that person. You say it's a 10 or 20 person team. They'll ask that person who knows something, who knows a little bit about this technology or knows a service provider they can recommend. And that's often how things get started. That's obviously still the case for many businesses, but as well the learning curve. People are moving up that learning curve and becoming more familiar and being able to make more informed and more complex, decisions and choices about what service provider they use for cloud.
Are there certain factors that you have identified that do play a role in these SMEs as SMBs selection of their cloud provider?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many, every decision, every small business that makes a choice around a service provider is driven by different factors. But in the small business space, like I said, it's often, it can be as straightforward as, hey, I'll ask my friend and get that recommendation, because that recommendation translates into trust. Hey, my friend or, my colleague who has experience with this service provider already had a good experience. And so that's kind of, their way of assessing reputation of that service provider. I think a big thing as well these days beyond reputation and trust, there's that's I guess a minimum bar. People go online and read about providers. They do a little bit of basic Google research, and then they go to the website and try to get familiar. And so when they get there, simplicity, ease of use, these factors go to are top of mind among SMB users. They're thinking, hey, maybe this is not, I've not used the cloud before, or I'm trying to use it more. How easy is it this? How can my business, do I have to hire people, or can I do this myself in just a few hours and get what I need and get up and running? And so, the ease of use of the website, how easy is it to find a phone number or an email or to open a ticket to ask a question, whether in real time live or, how long do I have to wait to get an email response? They want to know things like that. How does the portal experience, the management interface look? Is it easy for non-tech savvy people to use? Is my bill going to be predictable? Is it going to be something that I have to understand how it works in terms of my usage? Is it going to come on a set? On a monthly basis? Can I expect some surprises, as can often happen with different models such as the public cloud? And so, that's just a short list of the potential things that people have to consider. But fundamentally at a base level, it is about getting, familiar, having some, kind of an intangible, level of trust. And then the user experience, is it comfortable? Is it easy to use? That, is much more, I would argue, is more important than say, specific feature by feature or specific price points. I think it's the overall experience and comfort that people have. Many, small businesses don't have a ton of experience working with this kind of technology.
When we look at small and medium businesses, what does this trust mean that, hey, you know what, I trust my cloud provider? Because trust could mean so many different things for different people.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to it. But like as I mentioned, I think, there's that kind of initial trust. Does someone I know have success with it? Is it a brand maybe I've seen a commercial for? Do I do a quick search, and do I find anything really, bad about the company? Things like that are kind of like stage one, developing trust. Interacting with the service, interacting with people there develops kind of another level of trust. Do I have a positive experience with the person I call into and ask questions or ask for, customer support? Do they talk to me in a way that I can understand? Are they condescending? Are they helpful? If you get positive answers to those questions, then, trust builds to another level. And so I think that's really important. Then, of course, interacting with the service. Does the service go down? Are the new products and features easy to use? Are they presented to me in a way that I can consume them? So that I think, trust, you kind of want to think of it as a process in many ways. It doesn't happen just from day one. I think you have to, use the service over time. And so, we find that a lot of SMB providers do like the fact that the service provider they're working with has been in the market for a while, has a reputation, has 10, 50, 100,000 or more, customers that are on that infrastructure platform. That certainly gives people, a level of comfort. They'll think, hey, well, if so many people have used the service and, their businesses haven't blown up, mine won't either. And so, yeah, so it's all of the above. And it is very much a process. And like I said, the kind of the repeated interactions and trials and interaction with the service kind of slowly builds. And that's why there's so much, especially for the top providers in the market, whether they serve SMB or large business. That's why, a fundamental quality of this business is that churn and customer movement happens at pretty low rates. People tend to get on a service and are loath to move off it if they're comfortable.
When it comes to small and medium businesses, one thing that does play a role sometimes, not all the time, is also that when they do interact with large companies, they are just another ticket. They just follow the ticket chain. If there's a problem, there's nobody going to pick up the phone in most of the cases. So sometimes we kind of tend to get involved with the relatively smaller player where we are not another cattle. We are more or less like pet, where somebody actually cares about us and want to listen to us and solve the problem. So from that perspective, if you look at, of course, there are hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, you can name, they're all there. And there are alternative cloud providers like Linode, which kind of, Linode has been around for so long. They started offering cloud before AWS was a thing. So do you see that these alternate cloud providers kind of offer better value for all the factors that you played a role there? They have been around for a while. They have a customer base. At the same time, they actually do care about their users.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, these are services, right? And service experience is so critical to the SMB and what drives, their decision and their level of trust and comfort with the service. I would argue that if you think about the large public clouds that you mentioned, those are kind of businesses that are not built around service experience and dealing with customers, interacting with customers on a even on a not just on a regular basis, but even once in a while. Those, I like to think of it the best way. I think to think of it is to think of hyperscale or public cloud as platforms or tool sets, and some of the SMB slash alternative clouds like a Linode as a platform within a service experience wrapper. If you kind of draw that line down the middle, I think that's pretty much, most SMBs are not going to cross that line. They're not going to they're going to choose the service experience. They're going to choose the human element. They're going to choose, all the things that, tend to come in a different way, or for many SMBs, just an unusable way when it comes to the public cloud platforms. It's not a good or bad thing. I often say it's just different. And that's ultimately, you choose a cloud infrastructure service just like, you choose a car or a jacket you buy at this, clothes you buy at the store. Everybody has different tastes and requirements, needs, and that's how they ultimately make their decisions. And when it comes to cloud infrastructure, it's the same thing. Am I looking for a tool set and a platform? Do I have a lot of technology resources to work with it? To work on my own? A lot for the SMBs, the answer to that is no. So what's out there for them? Good technology that have been operating and scaled, but also come with that support and service wrapper. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what pushes at SMBs, to this kind of alternative sphere of providers, and why they've done so well, as I referenced at the beginning of my comment.
One more thing is, when it comes to ease of use, when we do look at hyperscalers, they offer way too many services. You actually have to be a mathematician just to understand their price point, and just go to the labyrinth of services they're offering and all those jargons that are being used, versus when you go to somebody like Linode's site, hey, these are 3 things that I need, and these are the 3 things they're offering is done. So how much role does that also play? Because in most cases, most SMBs don't even understand these terms.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, the service experience, the ease of use, those are critical. It's a pretty much, some of those very, advanced and complex and technical services are just out of the realm, or just out of the reach, I should say, of SMB users. And that's why, the best SMB services are those that are designed to fit, those few unique, few specific requirements that an SMB has. A Linode has been around for a long time and has that kind of historical context and experience of dealing with, tens, hundreds of thousands of users, and have tweaked and refined their service to accommodate that type of customer profile. And that's why it's a superior option for so many SMBs, because the provider has, taken that experience and, basically built something for them, specifically for them, that is meant to fit for them. And just, to go back to the shopping analogy, it's like, it's, having something that, are you buying a suit off the rack, or are you buying something that's a little more bespoke or made to measure? In this case, it's made to measure for, the SMB.
Phil, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about the trends and the value or importance of alternate cloud providers. And I would love to have you back on the show to discuss more trends in this space. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Look forward to next time.